Welcome to another edition of Our City. As I said in last week's show, please remember that either myself or Olga Yugemar, the superintendent of schools, will be the only two informing the residents of the prospects or any cases of coronavirus here in the city of Elizabeth. Please stay tuned to our website or the school board website, not any other sites on social media. Those are the only two that will be accurate and communicative to the residents of our city. And I want to let everyone know that Darren Bryden, our staff, has been working diligently since the fall of last year to prepare our city for the census. This is my third census that I'm participating in as mayor, and it's extremely important that every citizen, non-citizen, or anyone in the community gets counted, regardless of your document status. It is important for future financial aid, and tonight's show is going to be dedicated to the working with the citizens of Elizabeth to get you counted. And I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Jeff Behler, who is the regional director for the U.S. Census. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
So, Jeff, before we begin, tell us about yourself. You were telling me before the show that you've been on the census now for...
going on 24 years now.
This is your third.
This will be my third census as well. First in the New York region. So we have 6 regions across the country. I'm director of the New York region for the U.S. Census Bureau. It covers all of New Jersey, New York, all the New England states, and Puerto Rico. And we're responsible for all the data collection activities.
So did you have to relocate to do this?
I did. I've had opportunities to work at our headquarters. I've worked in the Dallas region for the 2010 census and in Detroit, Michigan for the 2000 census.
What do you do with your family? Just pick them up every 10 years and
right.
move them?
I have a very dedicated family.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's probably worse than a veteran, right?
Yeah.
You got to pack up and go.
It's very much like the military life. Yeah.
Just got to keep going. So some of our viewers may not know, what is the decennial census?
Yeah, so Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution mandates that we conduct an enumeration of the people for the purposes of representation every 10 years. First one was in 1790, and we've been doing it ever since, every 10 years. And it really is our opportunity to count how many people are living in our country, as well as how many housing units we have across the country. And then that data is used for representation for the next decade. It's also used to help determine how federal funding is distributed. When
you say representation, it is used for how many members a state has in Congress.
Absolutely right. So when we talk about representation, the number of seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives will be based upon the 2020 census. States will use this data for their redistricting, for drawing voting precincts, for drawing school districts. And then even businesses use this data to determine, for the next 10 years, if they want to expand or what they want to relocate, they want to go to places where there's a customer base, where they have an employee base. So it's important for representation.
So if a lot of people decide to up and leave California and move to North Dakota, then North Dakota would get more congressional seats and California would lose them.
That's correct.
Why people would go to North Dakota is another question, but I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So these are really important decisions. When you look at the history, the Northeast has lost seats as the center of the population kind of swings to the south and the west. So let's make sure that these decisions are made upon using accurate data, and that's why it's important that everyone get counted in.
And when you say everyone, I opened up the show with documented, undocumented. That's correct. Right. Everyone, right?
We count everyone who's living in the United States, regardless of their citizenship status.
How important is it for residents? Do they get the importance of what you just said, Jeff? I mean, I get it, but what do you think of the average Joe Sixpack?
I think, the representation piece, it hits home for some, but it's really the funding piece that I think is the greatest. When you think about the hundreds of billions of dollars that are disseminated every year for things like Medicare, for education, for National School Lunch Program, for technology in schools or Title I grants, when you think of community block development grants, food stamps and WIC and fixing our roads and our infrastructure. All those federal funds that come to communities are based upon census data. And we get one opportunity to get the most accurate count we can, because that funding over the next 10 years will be based upon the data we collect in 2020.
So you said it's been done every 10 years. I don't know the answer to it. Was it done in 1940 in the middle of the war?
It was. It was done every 10 years. Yeah.
So we still did one in 1940. I was just curious if that happened.
This is the census is the largest peacetime mobilization operation we conduct in this country.
And how is it taken? I mean,
Yeah.
this is the first year that we're going to computers. So tell our viewers, how is it actually taken?
Yeah, we are excited. We have a conversation. We talk about the census is safe, the census is easy, and the census is important. We just touched on the important piece, and now let's talk about that easy piece. 4 ways to respond in 2020. First time ever, every household across the nation, if they choose, they can go online and enter in their census data. First time also in our nation's history.
When does that start, Jeff?
That'll
Soon,
start,
right?
Yeah, it actually started March 12th through the 20th will be
Okay.
the first mail out. The mail out when we're sending out all the invitations. So hopefully everyone has received one by now. In addition, every household that wants to call in their information, they'll have the ability to do that via a toll-free telephone number. First time ever, we're not doing outbound calling right now, but they can call into us. And both online and over the phone are available in English and 12 non-English languages. Online, you just toggle. Over the phone, you pick if Portuguese speaking, maybe you're Russian speaking, maybe you're Spanish speaking. There's a dedicated number so that when you call that phone number, someone who speaks that language will pick up and you can provide your information or ask any questions. The third way to be counted, if you want to fill it out on paper, because that's the way you've done it for the past 4 or 5 decades, you absolutely, families can choose to fill it out on paper. So every household across the nation will get those 3 methods of what we call self-response. It's really the highest quality data we collect at the lowest possible cost to the American taxpayer.
So, Jeff, I remember a couple other censuses. There was a long form and a short form.
great,
Is
yeah.
that still true today?
So this will be a short form only census, similar to 2010. So very basic information. We're asking for your name and phone number. We ask for a phone number in case we need to follow up for any quality control issues. We ask for your age and your date of birth. We ask for your race and ethnicity, whether or not you're of Hispanic origin. We ask for your sex. We ask for your tenure, whether you own or rent your home. And then we ask for the relationship to the first person listed on the form, like mother, father, son, daughter, roommate. That's all we ask. It's important to note we do not ask for social security numbers. We do not ask for bank account or credit card information. We do not ask for money, and we do not ask for anything on behalf of a political party.
So those last 2 things are extremely important because if there's anybody out there saying fill out the census on behalf of a political party or asking you for money, they're not the census people.
That's correct. It may be legitimate. It may be something that's being done by another survey organization or by a political party, but the Census Bureau will never ask for anything related to political party. We will never ask for money, bank account or credit card information, or social security number. There's always scams every decade around the census because people take advantage of it being in every community across the nation. At our website at 2020census.gov, we have a scams webpage with a toll-free telephone number that viewers can call if there are any concerns. Let us do the research. If they get something in the mail, they're not sure if it's the census. If they have a census employee come to their door and they want to verify or validate their employment, call us. We'll validate that, yes, indeed, that person does work for us.
Jeff, we're going to run a couple of commercials and come right back and talk more about the census. Please stay with us after these messages. Back with more with Jeff Behler and the U.S. Census.
Hey, America, I've got something to say.
Completing your 2020 census could mean smoother roads.
Or more emergency rooms. Or more representation in our government.
The census counts us all.
And an accurate count helps inform where billions go every year.
So don't miss your chance to be counted.
We're kind of depending on you here.
Complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
Hi, I'm a census taker.
Good pay, flexible hours. Help shape your community's future. Be a census taker. Apply today.
We're an American original. Dependable, historic, nuanced. With all the comforts of home, even when you're just visiting. So we're celebrating for all that we've left untouched and all that we've changed. A place where the past meets the future. So consider this your invitation.
We've been celebrating here in Elizabeth for 350 years, and we're just getting started.
Bienvenido a los United, Juan.
Sí, gracias. Qué gusto verte.
Bueno, vamos a ver.
Oigan, vi que en la casa están pensando llenar el censo.
Sí.
Pero no es peligroso.
Para nada. Hace 10 años estaba como tú. Lo llené. Y mírame, aquí sigo.
Tu información personal no se puede compartir ni con la migra ni con la policía.
No te preocupes.
Órale, pues está bien, ¿no?
¿Listos para ordenar?
Nos traen formulario del censo, por favor.
Llena el censo hoy. Dale forma a tu futuro. Empieza aquí.
What can we do to make an impact in our community? We can share our knowledge, be leaders, or simply participate in the 2020 census. The census wants our community to be counted accurately. That count informs decisions that affect funding for hundreds of programs, like Medicare, daycare, and arts education. When a community comes together, anything is possible.
Shape your future. Start here. Learn more at 2020census.gov.
Just minutes from New York City, we are the gateway to the state of New Jersey. Experience Elizabeth. It all starts here.
It's all about power
and money.
Almost $700 billion per year.
And it only happens once every 10 years.
It directly impacts our representation in government
and the money that goes to
our communities.
Our schools.
Our housing.
Our neighborhood programs.
Our lives.
So what is it?
The census.
A population count of America.
But it's much more than that.
It's the basis of distributing power and money
from the government to our communities.
The unfortunate part is that a lot of us aren't counted.
And it's on us to change that.
When we aren't counted, our communities don't get their fair share.
For each person not counted, their community loses out on over $20,000 over 10 years.
For a household or a family of 5, that community loses out on over $100,000.
But we can change it.
When the census comes in the mail,
fill it out. Don't throw it out. Or do it online.
And make sure to count everyone in the household.
Little ones too.
Little ones too.
The census begins in 2020.
Most households will get a postcard in the mail next March telling them it's census time.
And we're required to fill it out.
The counts will be used to determine how many congresspersons each state gets.
And to draw new congressional maps in 2021.
It's also used to draw maps for basically every level of government.
From the state legislature to school boards.
So this is a huge opportunity for us
to make a direct impact on our communities.
It's critical that we are all counted.
So go ahead, take the pledge.
Pledge to be counted.
Pledge to be counted.
Pledge to be counted.
Because there's too much at stake not to.
I count. I count.
I count.
I count.
I count.
We count.
Contamos.
We count.
We count.
أن إحنا محسوبين.
Tayo'y kabilang.
We count.
I count!
Welcome back to our city, where I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Jeff Behler of the U.S. Census. And Jeff, before the break, we were talking about the process and how it gets done. What's extremely important to recognize is this is the first effort from you, but there's follow-up efforts as well in the community. And tell us about some of them and how do people get hired in locally and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked earlier about the 3 ways to self-respond: the online, the over the phone, the on paper. The fourth and final way we'll count people is knocking on their door, and we'll start doing that May 13th. We'll visit every address in which we have yet to receive a census response. And when we do that, we talk about a census. It's a national event. We have to conduct it the same way in every community. How we make it local is making sure we hire people who live in that community to knock on doors in that community. They speak the languages. They understand the culture. So we are hiring throughout.
They know the alleyways.
That's right. They feel comfortable. I mean, and when you look at it, you want the person on the other side of the door to open up that door. And they'll do that when it's someone who's speaking their language or looks like them, or they recognize them, from being in the community. So that's important to us. It's really easy to apply for our jobs. We're at the very end of our recruiting process. So we really want people, if they're interested, to go online today, 2020census.gov/jobs. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes. It's formatted for a smartphone or for a tablet. We're going to be hiring through the month of March for non-response follow-up, which begins May 13th. So it's the largest operation.
How long does that last, Jeff?
It lasts about 2 months.
From May 13th to sometime in July?
Yeah, mid to late July is as long as we'll be going. And of course, we have quality control operations that we do that may last an additional 1 or 2 weeks on top of that. Yeah. We're anticipating hiring over 500,000 people nationwide. Our goal just in Union County was 4,000. We need to recruit 4,000 people. So we'll have anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 jobs.
The more dense the area, the more the people you hire, is that?
Correct. Okay. Correct. That's what we planned. This is really all based, and we're guessing right now because it's based upon self-response. So ideally, we want more people to self-respond,
sure.
Because that's the highest quality data we do get. But we'll be knocking on the doors of those that don't. And that's why we want to make sure here in Union County, $21 an hour throughout the city of Elizabeth to work on the census. We say we hope the best gig job around because you choose your hours, your schedule. If you want to work 2 hours a weeknight and all day Saturday and Sunday, you can be successful. So you tell us what hours you can work. We're going to give you an assignment based upon those hours. And then you work from home, you go out and walk your neighborhood and knock on doors and collect information.
So I didn't follow up this before the break. Is there a long form anymore, or that's over?
So we're still collecting. It's in 2005, we started the American Community Survey, which basically is the long form. So Census 2000 was the last census in which 1 out of every 6 households got the long form. We realized by the time that we released the data and tabulate and release it, it's out of date, because it's really, the long form was the characteristics of our nation, the educational attainment, veteran status, health-related, home ownership. So now we conduct the American Community Survey on a monthly basis so that every community across our country is receiving a refreshed set of characteristics every year. We release refreshed characteristics every year, and it's important because a lot of federal agencies now require the use of this ACS or American Community Survey data in getting federal grants. So
Okay.
it is an important program. We are still doing it, and you mentioned that it's a great thing to alert the community that we have other surveys going on at the same time we're doing the census. So you could get your address could be sampled to participate in the American Community Survey the very same day you receive a form in the mail. And
So if you
that's
get
okay.
that, Jeff, what's confidential and what's not?
Everything is confidential. By law, and this really goes to the safety piece of the conversation, the census is safe, easy, and important. Title 13 was created in 1954. It's a law that basically
It's a good
states,
year.
Yeah.
I was born.
It's a law that basically states that the Census Bureau can never release information at the person or the household level. So when we release our data, it's at a city level. It's at a census tract level. It's at a county level, a state level. It can never be at a person or household level. So local, state, federal law enforcement can never access our data at any time for any reason. Meaning Homeland Security and ICE can never access our data at any time for any reason. Even the Patriot Act does not supersede Title 13. We've been taken to federal court numerous times over the past 7 decades, and we have won every time. There has never been a breach of Title 13 since its existence. In addition, everyone...
So judges have upheld that, is
That's
what you're
correct.
saying.
That's correct. In addition, everyone who works on a census, whether you're a permanent employee like myself or you work for a 4-week operation, everyone takes an oath of confidentiality, and that oath is for life. And that oath states, if you release information that would identify an individual or a household, you will be fined up to $250,000. You will be in prison for up to 5 years. We certainly understand that the public's trust is the foundation of getting a complete and accurate census. So we want our partners, we want our elected officials, we want people who are talking about the census to feel confident in saying the census is safe.
And Jeff, when you talk about that, I think it's extremely important because the lack of trust could exist.
Yeah,
especially
we
with
certainly see that.
undocumented folks.
Lack of trust in the federal government. People are on a go now more than they were before. So that's why we're trying to make it easy, and we really do want to stress how safe it is for people to respond.
When would the results of the 2020 census be released?
So by law, we have to turn over to the president the count and to Congress the counts by state and the entire count of the nation by December 31st of this year. And then by March 31st of 2021, we have to give the data to each state so they can start the redistricting process. So early next year, late this year, early next year, you're going to hear the big numbers, the population of the country, the population by state, and then throughout 2021, we'll be releasing information by county, by city, by race and ethnicity, by age. All that data will start coming out next year.
And it's done early enough where people can redistrict for the 2021 elections.
That's correct. That's
so,
correct.
Silly question. What do you do when you're not doing a census? Like, what do you do in the year 2024?
Catch up on sleep for
Exactly.
one thing. Yeah. No, we are out there collecting very important data for our country every day. So you hear about the unemployment rate that comes out the first Friday of every month. Right. There's a survey we conduct called the Current Population Survey. We conduct that on behalf of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who then takes the data, compiles it, and releases the unemployment rate, housing starts, consumer price index, crime indices. We collect data for the CDC. So the Census Bureau is always out there. It's just in much smaller numbers because we do sampled surveys.
Because is that when the census will issue, like in the year 2016 or 2018, we got a break that said the population of Elizabeth is now 132,000, where the census had us at 126,000 6 years earlier.
Yeah.
Is that work from your office?
That it is, and I'm glad you raised that because it's so important. That's why the 2020 census is so important, because it is a base for all our sample projections, for growth projections, for all our sampled surveys for the next 10 years. So if we don't get everyone counted, if it's a lower count than anticipated, that could affect population projections over the next decade. So this really is our one time when we're not taking a sample, we're not going to just a few houses. Everyone who lives in this country has the opportunity to complete the census and be counted.
Yeah, because we've been working, I've assigned a person to it. I know the county has people assigned to it. And we're looking forward to March when it gets out there, as well as doing all we can on social media to encourage people. How do you think that the hype over the coronavirus is going to impact the census? What are people paying more attention to, do you think?
Yeah.
We hope they're paying attention to the census, but will it get lost in the in the media scrum.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. So that's why, and one of the great things about having 3 ways to self-respond is, I certainly understand families don't want people coming to the home that that may not know, or even if they do know, they don't want to open their door to someone who they're afraid. There's that scare is out there right now. That's why we're really asking people to self-respond. So everyone should have received their packet. Go online, fill it out, call it in over the phone, or fill it out on paper and mail it back in. That's the best way to ensure someone doesn't have to come to your home to knock on your door to collect.
So what do the people get? Is it a postcard, U.S. Census, or is it a letter? Is it sealed in an envelope? How is it?
Yeah,
describe it for us.
Yeah, it'll be a packet. It'll be probably like a half page, 8.5 by 5.5 size envelope. In there will be the invitation to go online. It'll give you the URL, exactly where to go, which is my2020census.gov. It'll give you your census ID. Everything we do is address based. So every address, we've created a 12-digit unique identifier. So when you go online, you can just enter that 12-digit ID. You don't have to worry about keying in your address. We automatically know the data that you're about to enter, where it belongs when it's released, in what city, in what census tract, in what county. And then in addition to that, we'll have a list of the 13 different toll-free telephone numbers that people can call, and there'll be a message in each language. So people who maybe only understand Portuguese, they'll be able to read the message in Portuguese and know they can call. And then some households right away are also going to receive a paper questionnaire. We are trying to get people to either go online or to call in over the phone, just because it's a big savings to U.S. taxpayers. It costs a lot of money to print questionnaires, mail them out, pay for them to be mailed back in, do all the data processing, and then eventual destruction. But it is important to note, if a household doesn't receive a questionnaire in their first mail-out packet, we're going to do another mail-out. The 4th mail-out we conduct starts April 8th. And in that, every household that has yet to respond will automatically get a paper questionnaire. No one needs to call us. We're automatically going to send you a paper questionnaire.
Well, we look forward to working with you, Jeff, in any way that we can help. We're hopefully going to dedicate the libraries on a couple of Saturdays in May or June for anyone who may have a digital divide problem in order to make that available for our residents. So thank you for your commitment. I know you're a busy guy and appreciate you taking the time to join us here to talk with the residents of Elizabeth on how important the census is.
Yeah, thank you, and we appreciate all that you're doing to make sure Elizabeth gets the most complete and accurate count.
For Mr. Jeff Behler of the U.S. Census, please fill out your census. No matter who you are, where you are, no matter whether you're documented or not, it's extremely important that the census forms get filled out. I'm Chris Bolwage, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.